What's going on, guys? It is MurderInc here, back with another Raid Shadow Legends video, and today we're going to be giving Bommal, the hard rhino in Doom Tower, a taste of his own medicine. We are going to be bombing Bommal. Yes, you heard it right. I'm using bomb champions. I am really stubborn and really wanted to use this, and no, I'm not going to be showing you stage 10, stage 50 on hard like other content creators, stage 10, 50, or 90 on normal mode. We are going to be doing a successful stage 90 on hard run using bombs with Bommal, and to top everything off, we're not going to run any resistance at all. This is something I've been playing around with for a couple days, and I put it into practice and it worked out pretty well. So I'm going to be showing you a team that works on stage 90 hard for this rhino boss, but you're going to be able to use this with tons of different champions in all of the other stages. However, stage 90 itself probably isn't as doable without the 5 champions I'm going to show you here today. So with that being said, let's jump right into the clip here. No, we're not using the original team. We are going to be using, as we can see, Doom Priest, Sifi, this guy on the left here that bombs, I really forget his name. I believe it's Soul Drinker, the Force Affinity red bomber here, Godseeker Iniri, and finally Shiramani. So I'm going to be showing you the gear of these champions, the stats, but first let's have a look at the run. Unfortunately, this run is not full auto. However, it's pretty quick if I'm going to be honest with you. So the fact that you do have to manual the boss isn't that big of a deal in my opinion. Maybe it is for you guys, but this isn't going to be me trying to solo this guy in a 13-minute run. It is going to be manual, like I said, but it's much quicker than that. So why did I use Soul Drinker here? And I'm just going to call him that because I'm pretty sure that's his name. I used him because he has AoE wave clear, but also because, like I said, I want to bomb Bommal really bad. Like I really want to. Plarium wants me to. I don't know if you guys want me to or not. It's definitely not the most efficient way to go about this. I did discuss that in the full guide I made of this boss, giving you the ins and outs on how to beat this with whatever champions you have. But for this strategy, like I said, I'm using Soul Drinker. If you wanted to make this specific run quicker, you could actually use a poisoner instead, like Iragoth, but there's a few things you're gonna have to be careful of. I will go over that once we do in fact get to the boss. As you can see, we're still on auto here, and I believe I take it off auto, right now. So I'm just gonna be spamming A1s, getting this wave out of the way, making sure I have all the cooldowns I need for when we do approach the boss here. Surprisingly, none of the stats are crazy, and like I said earlier, I'm not using any resistance on this at all. I'm vulnerable right now. I'm extremely vulnerable. So Shiramani and Sifi are both above 251 speed. A nice counter attack there. I'm using attack up for the bomb damage for Soul Drinker. Now, Godseeker Iniri, you really don't want to use her A2 because you don't want buffs, and what I'm basically doing here is the same way I approach the Griffin boss. If you've ever seen my guide for that, I am weaving in buffs for this boss right after he strips it, and he would be placing bombs on my team. Now, if you desync this or you make some type of user error, which I did quite a few times while testing this to figure this out perfectly, you will wipe 100%. He's going to take all of the buffs you have, change them into bombs, and you're just dead. So don't do that. The main goal here is to use the buffs as soon as he strips the buffs from your team. However, you do have to watch his cooldowns very closely. So what do I mean by watching his cooldowns very closely? I mean, there's going to be a situation like we can see here where he removes buffs, place buffs. Now he's going to spawn the bombs, but the one thing to remember is he gains an extra turn. This is something that messed me up so many times when I was first putting this team together. You cannot use any buffs here because, as we see here, he's going to strip again. So if I had used Sifi's A2 here with the speed boost, all of this stuff coming together, my team would have just instantly wiped here. Now it does look a little bit scary here, but this is why we do have double reviver here, so I'm using my revives properly. Godseeker Iniri is such a good champion here. She doesn't provide any buffs, she does extend buffs like I said, but her main purpose here is for her passive, which reduces cooldown, so I can get more Soul Drinker bombs onto the boss here. Shiramani's a healer. Also, there are going to be points where there are no buffs on the entire team, and Godseeker can in fact use that A2 since she's not extending any buffs on my team, and she's just giving our team raw heals. Now, one thing that can mess you up, which is why I can't say this is a 100% win rate, is unfortunately our MVP. I don't want to say MVP, but our really good champion I'm using here is Doom Priest. Doom Priest is good, however, as we can see, she is applying increased crit rate buff, and that's going to apply additional bombs like we do see here on Shiramani. If you get really bad RNG and get these bombs on both revivers 2 times in a row, you're going to wipe here. It's not a huge chance of it happening, but it can in fact happen, and that is going to cause a wipe, so that is going to be the wipe condition here. One thing that you can do that I also did to kind of counteract this is use deflection set on your 2 reviving champions if you have it. If you don't have deflection set, don't worry about it, it's not required here. One thing I also did that I'm going to go over when I show you the Masteries of these champions, everyone besides Soul Drinker has War Master. Now you don't need War Master on everybody, it will make the runs faster of course. However, if you choose not to use War Master, you can take other skills that will help you out a ton. Whether you need accuracy on your champions, timely intervention, a master I'm going to talk about when I do go over these champions masteries that boost the turn meter when an ally dies. As you can clearly see here, we have allies on our team dying all of the time. So with that being the case, if you did take that mastery to boost the turn meter, all of these champions are going to go and get many more turns than they're currently getting. They're going to burn through their buffs faster, which is good. The bombs don't matter as much. That's pretty much the only static thing in this fight here. So you don't have to worry about that if you're not going for resistance. But as we can see here, let's pause it. We have 800,000 damage from Soul Drinker, 371,000 from Godseeker, 133 Sifi, 386 Shiramani, 283 Doom Priest. This only took 5 minutes and 17 minutes while manualing the boss, 122 turns, so not that many turns when you think about it, as the fastest I've personally done was 3 minutes and 33 seconds with 86 turns. So this team of course isn't going to be setting any records. I'm not even sure if the current record that I have here, while it may be the fastest and the best on the test server, once stage 90 does go live, I'm sure players are going to get much lower than this, since I really haven't revisited that team. But this team's really cool here for a lot of the reasons I just explained as we watch that run. But the really cool part about this is the gear I'm using isn't insane. So now let's go ahead here, skip ahead and go over the gear I do use on these champions. The first one is going to be Sifi. So Sifi's using deflection. She's got 70,000 health, a little bit high, nothing crazy. We're not at 90,000, 100,000, all of that good stuff. 277 speed. She has high base speed, 4.5 thousand defense. Now if you're doing this for other difficulties, Sifi's not the most common champion. She's very uncommon, being a void legendary. So what are the key things you need from this champion slot? You actually don't need a turn meter booster. That's completely irrelevant and just an added bonus of Sifi the Lost Bride. Her healing is nice, but once again, it's not needed because that's really covered by Doom Priest, Godseeker, Aniri, as well as Shiramani. So the main benefit and the reason why you want this champion is for her block debuffs. Now, of course, you cannot block the bomb debuffs. However, the stuns, the HP burns, you really don't want those on your team. So this is a slot designated for a champion that you can put in that slot. If you want to use Duchess, go ahead. She's maybe a little bit more common than Sifi, but still kind of a rare and unique legendary. So if you don't want to use that, once again, the key here is going to be block debuffs. If you think you're safe without it, I haven't tried it, but I'm not going to say it's not going to work. You can go ahead and swap in any champion you want in this Sifi the Lost Bride spot and see if it works for you, but I'm just going with what I know here, and I'm not going to kind of tell you guys something that I'm not 100% sure on. The next champion we have here is Shiramani. She's also in a deflection set here. She has 47,000 health, so very low health, which may be rather surprising. 2.8 thousand defense, once again very low. 281 speed. You don't need speed this fast. There's no reason her speed is this fast, besides the fact that this is the deflection gear that I have. As we can see, 122% crit rate, 433 accuracy. All of these stats besides the accuracy are kind of extra and just a byproduct of the specific deflection gear that I did have. As we can see, I'm also using a reaction ring. Once again, you don't need a reaction ring. However, my original strategy, her speed was much lower than the Dreadlord. She wasn't in deflection and she had the opportunity of getting one shot. So I do have a remnant piece of deflection gear that's not needed. It's just a byproduct, and I probably just have stats on that ring that I did need, whether it be HP or defense, despite it being so low on this champion. Now the next champion we're going to talk about is going to be Godseeker Aniri. She is in a reflex set. Once again, you don't need reflex gear. This is all quality of life to make sure cooldowns come back up. 58,000 health, 3,300 defense, 239 speed. Outside of that, none of the other stats matter. You just want decent defense, decent speed, as well as decent health, and you're good to go with this champion. Reflex gear will help. It'll improve your chances of winning, but not needed. Alright, for our fourth champion here, I decided to do something a little bit interesting with Doom Priest. I gave her Frenzy because I really wanted her to go first every single time for obvious reasons, because she's a really strong passive that heals and cleanses debuffs. So I wanted to cleanse as many HP burns that did sneak through. I wanted to cleanse any remnant stuns that carried over from the previous round of a bomb going off. So I decided to use Frenzy set on Doom Priest, and it worked brilliantly. So as you can see from her stats, 66,000 health, 3,400 defense, 231 speed, so nothing crazy. The speed's definitely much higher than it needs to be. If you know how Frenzy gear works, this is going to shoot her to the top of the turn meter pretty much at any speed, as long as you don't go too low. I would say 210 to 215 is going to be the minimum speed you would want in this champion, but for the sake of my gear, I currently have 231 speed. These are the basic stats of her. Once again, nothing crazy at all, just health, defense, and speed on Doom Priest. Now for the final champion. Okay, I did get the name right, Soul Drinker here. This one was a little bit difficult to gear. We have 5,600 attack, just under 5.7. So you want his attack pretty high. Like I said, bombs are good, but they're not great for this boss despite all the tooltips and how good it says they are. He's got just under 40,000 health. Speed is surprisingly important. I tried this with 7,400 attack and I think 170 speed. It didn't work out too well. Maybe you can find some success with it, but 222 speed was the ideal speed for me to use. It got a lot cleaner once I got it up here, so this is what I'm going to recommend. The reason why this is hard to gear, pretty obvious. You need attack, you need speed, and you need accuracy, but as we all know, this is for stage 90 hard only. If you were doing other difficulties, you would take Bommal the Dreadhorn stats for those specific bosses. Your speed can be lower, your accuracy can be lower, and as you improve on your gear, you can start approaching these tougher and harder stages of this if you wanted to replicate this. Like I said, if you wanted to use a poisoner here, you wanted to use someone like Astranyx, who is a Spirit Affinity champion with poisons, defense down, weaken, all of those really good debuffs. You would want to use them in deflection gear, and it would be really hard to have deflection gear with accuracy, so probably you would avoid deflection. You would start debuffing the boss, you would get tons of bombs on him, he would die, he would get rezzed by Seafeed or Godseeker Aniri, and that would just be a rinse and repeat there. If you wanted to give accuracy to someone like Godseeker Aniri to extend those debuffs, you definitely could do that. It'll help a little bit for the poisons, the defense down. I also wasn't using an attack down, so I was pretty much just surviving with the stats you do see in front of you here and just out healing all of the mechanics. So I think that's going to be the most realistic approach to this. Now, if you're looking for an all-auto team, there are a few, but the gear requirements are extremely high on those teams, and the champion requirements are very, very specific for those teams, and of course they're not 100% win rate, at least as far as I know of so far. So that's why I feel like this is a really solid team overall. Yes, there are champions that can solo the other stages, but I wouldn't consider that too reliable unless they can solo every single difficulty, every single stage, and doesn't require the most OP gear in the entire game. While it may make for a cool video, it's just not going to be realistic for anybody watching. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump to the final section here, which is going to be the Masteries. So as we can see here, I ended up struggling a little bit with gearing this guy, so I had to take the Eagle Eye Mastery here instead of something like War Master, Giant Slayer for additional damage. That would have made this faster for sure. If you have really good gear, want to sacrifice a little bit more on attack, which I probably could have done for some accuracy, you can definitely take War Master, but to my earlier point here, you can build every single champion without War Master and Giant Slayer. It's not going to ruin the integrity of your run. This isn't a team that's going to slowly start falling behind over time. Everything's pretty much straightforward as far as this team goes, different roles, the synergies of the champions. So if you want to get rid of War Master, have the battles take 1 or 2 minutes longer and start taking things like timely intervention. If you want to take Masteries, it's going to open up a lot of new things for you. as far as being able to take the defense and the support tree instead of the offense and defense tree. So I know I didn't show you any of the masteries of the previous 4 champions. All of them are extremely straightforward. They are offense tree all the way down to War Master, and defense tree all the way down to counterattack. I took all of the damage reductions you can take. I took increased healing on the defense tree. So just think of a typical clan boss counterattack team build, not an unkillable team build, but a counterattack team build. And those masteries are going to be extremely straightforward for you. Alright guys, that's going to conclude my video. Let me know what you think of this team. What kind of champions are you thinking about using? It should help quite a few of you if you're struggling in the normal difficulty. This pretty much lays it out perfectly on how to use buffs, how not to use buffs, what types of throughput healing champions you can use to get through this. If you're looking for stage 90 specifically, have these champions. This is going to be a home run for you. A lot of people are going to struggle on this stage specifically, and like I said, there were a lot of people testing on stage 10 and stage 50 saying this champion can solo it, so it's going to be able to solo 90. I can tell you right now, you're going to need at least 3 or 4 champions that are good at wave clear if you plan on soloing the stage 90 Dreadhorn. You're going to need really strong gear on the champion attempting to solo this, and you're going to need incredible gear on the other 3 champions used for the wave clear to make sure you're getting as much damage as possible onto the Dreadhorn before they start dying and blowing up. Alright guys, so that's going to conclude my video. Don't forget, if you enjoy this content, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next video, and I will see you all in the next upload.